Everybody, I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat. Anna, you look fantastic and green. Welcome. People, here we go. This is an I told you so moment. And hey, I'm not happy about what happened to this individual. We're talking about Officer Derek Chauvin, and I don't take any joy in the fact that this cat got stabbed. I'm not here to debate, and neither is anybody else. We're not here to debate whether or not you're happy about Derek Chauvin being in prison or any of that. This is a show that is a very, very specific show. This is what this is about, right? This is about the fact that I have gone on multiple times to talk about protective custody, what it means. I'm not breaking this story by any stretch of the imagination. Derek Chauvin is the police officer who put his knee on the neck of George Floyd and caused his death, and was sentenced to 20 some odd years in federal prison, followed by 20 some odd years in state prison in Minneapolis, I believe, to be followed up after he leaves the fence. When I was in the Federal Bureau of Prisons, one of the yards that I did time on was the Federal Correction institution in Tucson, Arizona, where in the city I live in now, there are two federal prisons. One was the most desired yard in the BOP. Everybody in the world wanted to be at FCI Tucson. They had a huge weight pile. They had three yards, three separate outdoor facilities. And if you drove up to it from the outside and removed all of the fences, you would think that you were at an apartment complex. It's what the units don't look like prisons from the outside. They look remarkably like apartment complexes. When you look at the windows from the outside, they look like there are balconies in places, because at one time there were. It is a very, very soft prison in terms of being safe at the time. And lifers all wanted to go there and do time because it was soft and they had great food. What happened is one or two of the units had been shut down. So on a yard that should have 1,000 to 1,300 people on it, you only had about 700, right? So it was glorious. There was just a lot of room. And when you're not rubbing elbows, then less people fight, less people argue. It was a great place to do time. And there were some famous inmates, lifers, that were doing time there. And I left off that yard. I got in trouble. I got shipped to a different facility. But while I was still in the federal system, the feds said, we're going to take that yard. So here's how it works. If you're on that yard right now, you're leaving to go somewhere else. You don't have a choice. Unless, of course, you happen to be willing to live with the dregs of the prison system. It would require signing a document saying you were willing to live there. Now, you can sign that document and they can look at it and go, you know what? I don't trust that you're not going to hurt somebody anyway, so we're not going to let you live here. What you're not going to hear from the AP and from everybody else, but if you read the article and know how to read it, they said the yard has 360 or 380, I can't remember exactly, inmates on it. Okay? That is a facility built for close to 1,300. For there to be under 400 inmates on that yard means that they have shut it the hell down. And it is only wildly, wildly high profile protective custody inmates. Keep in mind, people, when you hear this story that this cat got stabbed, he's a cop. He's a cop. He's one of theirs. He's one of their own. No matter what happened, he did what he did. He went to prison, but he did what he did in the line of duty. As far as cops are concerned, he's a cop. Like, this is not a guy they're not going to go out of their way to protect. He doesn't have a sex beef. He's got a murder charge. They're going to do what they can to protect this cat. And they couldn't. They haven't protected him very long. He recently got moved to the federal system. His charge, he had been in Minnesota. He's got a fed charge he's got to clean up, and then he's got a state charge he's got to clean up. And they're not running at the same time. So it's got to do one versus the other. The feds get theirs first. That's usually how it works. So he had been moved from where he was doing time to the federal system and put into, I'm talking about some serious PC. If you're on a yard, it's only got 300 and some odd inmates on it, man. They are, I mean, they're not 300 people you'd want to be around. We're talking about some people with some jacked up paperwork, people that have done some really, really messed up things. But you're going to have some killers in that pack. And that's the point I've been trying to make. When I came on and I said, I don't care how badly you want to protect somebody, you can't protect somebody if somebody wants to hit them. It's impossible. Now, I'll give you some perspective because I was in that prison, right? I was on that yard. So, like I say, it looks like an apartment complex. When you walk into the units, you walk in and you go either left or right. And the units are mirrors of one another, right? But if you live on one side, in theory, you're never supposed to go over to the other, right? Because you stay on your side. Anything goes there because there was never any violence. When I was there, it was the most peaceful yard in the world. So guys would walk from unit to unit, back and forth, hang out, play cards, do whatever. It was less like prison than any place I had ever been. It was beautiful as far as doing time. It really was. But you got a lot of people there that tell on one another. And, a guy wrote. He owed me money. A guy who owed me a ton of money from poker debt and some other things. Wrote a snitch letter, and I have to find it because it's actually in my prison stuff. I saved this. The cop he gave it to, no lie, comes to my cell and says to me, "Listen, you can't get caught with this. I will get in so much trouble." He said, "But you need to own the letter that this guy wrote about you." Because the opening line of the letter is, "I'm sorry, but I suffer from epilepsy and it causes my memory to be not very good. So I don't remember a lot of things." And then he wrote about 15 pages of things that he remembered down to details. He drew maps to people's cells of the names he couldn't remember. Artist, he is absolutely no longer a police officer. But I assure you, when a cop goes to prison for any reason, he's a cop until he dies. With all due respect, as an inmate that spent 13 years in prison, if a guy walks into prison and he was a cop on the street, he is a cop until the day he dies. So you can say he is no longer a police officer, and absolutely he is not. He does not have the right to arrest. He does not have the right to do anything. Inside the prison system, he is looked at by every inmate as a cop, meaning that they are not popular from Jump Street, and they are protected by the prison system in a unique way. Whether it be state or federal system, they protect their own who go to prison. They have to. If you think about the concept, right? What does a cop do? A cop sends people to prison. And when a cop then messes up and gets sent to prison, a cop goes crooked, a cop goes rogue, an FBI agent goes rogue, anything like that happens. When they get sent away, you're going to send them away with the people that sent them away, right? Inside, he's a cop, whatever. I assure you, nobody inside is saying, "Hey, look, it's that ex-police officer." You can call him whatever you want, artist. I'm talking from a convict's point of view, okay? Call him whatever you want. Inside, no one's calling him an ex-cop. He's a cop. And that's the way it is. But they did not protect their own. And what it comes down to and what it boils down to is this is one of those situations that proves a point. It's not one that makes anybody feel good. When a person goes to prison, in theory, they should be able to be put someplace where they should be protected if they need to be protected, right? But there is prison justice. It gets doled out. And whether or not you agree with the prison justice here today, all I'm doing today is I'm coming here and saying this is what it is. And for the people who spend a lot of time sending me emails and saying, "You don't know what you're talking about," it's so easy for them to protect somebody like Danny Masterson from anybody. Protective custody means protective custody. Protective custody means that there are people who can no longer live in general population among the animals who are stabbing and killing one another. Now, when those people no longer can live among them, they have to be sent to where other people are supposed to be protected. So you have people who need to be protected who may not have, they need to be protected because of things that they did on the street, because of their crimes or whatever. They're going to be put in there with people who have been doing heinous things inside, who now need to be protected from the general population, and they tend to be lumped into the same place. All right, in courts, I swear to you, this is an affectation of my age, and I'm sad about that, but it's the truth. Art and Courts writes, the reality behind the inability to protect is one of the reasons for the abolition feminism. The way they view it, since protection is impossible, it is state-sanctioned violence. I honestly would have to sit and think that, and read that 10 or 15 times. I'm not being a smart aleck or anything else. I don't fire the way I used to. I think I used to read things and very quickly assimilate them. And it seems often these times when something conveys three or four things in a sentence, or in a couple of sentences, sometimes I really struggle. But I assure you, I'm going to go back and reread these when I'm not trying to keep up, because I know I miss gold, and it happens often, which is frustrating. It is, especially when we're really cooking. When we have a couple of 100 people here, we can all kind of hang out and talk. When it really starts rolling, sadly, it's hard to catch a lot of what comes through, and which is a bummer. But the bottom line, people, the takeaway from this is facilities in the Bureau of Prisons, more often than not, have right around 126 people per unit. So this prison has 3 units open, right? I assure you, it is a 6 or 7 unit prison. Most have 8 units, 7 or 8 units, 6 minimum. Very often they stack them, but they shoehorn in as many people as possible. This prison was built on a grant during the Reagan years. So this prison and the one in Phoenix, and I believe the one in Oregon, were all built at the same time. There's 3 of them built in that particular round of federal prison expansion that are very, very similar yards, all desired by inmates to yards to live on because of how they were built. They were laid out a little bit different. Like I said, it really doesn't. You just don't get the prison feeling when you, especially the prison that Derek Chauvin just got stabbed at. I used to joke that if I took a picture walking out of my unit and going to the chow hall, if you took a picture at any place along the way, and snapped that picture, you would have had no clue whatsoever that I was in prison. From the landscaping and everything around, you would have thought I might have been in a park or anywhere else. And it has an effect, right? It has an effect on the inmate population, on how they treat one another. Yes, I had heard that he had given one of his first interviews ever prior to this. And this is going to be something, obviously, for reasons that don't need to be explained at any level, is a powder keg of emotions. It is. Guaranteed it is. Now, I will tell you this as well, depending on who stabbed him, right? He's on a yard where there's not going to be politics on that yard, right? There isn't. In other words, you're not having a shot on that yard. There's not any kind of on those kind of yards. There's not that kind of organization at all. Doesn't mean there aren't 5 or 6 guys who click up who say we're not allowed this kind of crap and we're going to try to run these people off. Those kind of little politic things are going to be going on anywhere. But there's not going to be a hierarchy set up because everybody there's been kicked out of everything, right? So what you've got is just people that answer to nobody. So there's no telling what race attacked him. Visitings have been suspended there, which they love doing anyway, just because it means less work for them. I mean, if somebody farts, they shut down visiting. And do you have any idea how rude that is? I'm sorry. I'm not saying that Derek Chauvin getting stabbed is not a legitimate reason to shut down visiting, but I've had them shut down visiting because somebody at the camp, which is literally a half a mile away, a visitor at the camp tested positive for chicken pox. So they shut down our visiting. Now, at the time, my wife had flown in to visit me, right? And so she's at the hotel the night before, and I called her and said, "Hey, what's up?" And she said, "There's no visiting. You know, I called to see what time they were allowing us in the morning, and everything is canceled because of this." And she was in tears. And I thought to myself, I wonder how many family members just did the exact same thing, you know. But so as I was saying before, I got distracted. This is one of those units that when you walk in, you just go off in two directions, and it looks like an MC Escher painting. There are stairs that go down, and there'll be a basement row of about 10 cells. And then there'll be a rung above it of about 10 cells. And then there's a rung above it, and the stairs keep going up to the different levels. And it's about 5 tiers. And the day room, which has a group of cells around the outside of it, is one of those. And that's actually what you walk into. So you would have to go downstairs to the basement level. And what that did is it made for a feeling that didn't feel like a prison. There's a lot of stairways, and there's a lot of places that you can hurt somebody. It was not well thought out. But prisons weren't as violent in 1989 as they are in 2023. And if somebody wants to stab somebody, you're absolutely going to have plenty of places. One of the longest fights I ever saw in my life was in prison, was at that facility. These guys fought, went back to their cells, like rested, went back, fought again. It's just the way it's set up. It is really an unusual place. It's set up in such a way that can really, really make it difficult to keep an eye on that kind of things. They also said that the press releases that someone was, they wouldn't say the person's name. They play, that when they get somebody who's high profile into the feds, very often chances are he wasn't getting mail in there under his name. His ID probably didn't even say Derek Chauvin on it. I've mentioned before that at Phoenix yard, there's one unit you can't see. It's behind this big fence that's covered in like black mesh. It looks like tennis court fence almost, right? Except it's got barbed wire on the top of it. But running in between it is canvas so that you can't see into the unit. The one thing you can notice is that all of the top cells have TVs in their cells. You can see the TVs glowing on, and we'd always go, "The hell is that all about?" They used to call it the cheese factory. It was for the highest profile informants in the entire system. These were people who told on so many individuals that no matter where you put them, someone is going to unalive them. And the cheese factory still exists, and again, everybody there is in the name Smith, Jones, right? Nobody's in there under their real name. Linda. Yeah, Linda, if you do not have a way to get out of there, yeah, if you could, that's not okay. I'm so sorry, Linda. I really am. I am. Hey Bez, good to see you, brother. I am truthfully sorry. It's horrific. It really is. And you know what? This is advice and you can take it or leave it because I am what I am. But the prison system and the legal system works in such a way that um, you wouldn't believe how many times you get in trouble before you get in trouble. You wouldn't believe how many times I got arrested for stealing something before I got sent to prison for stealing. The number of arrests were astounding. Now, I could talk a little better than the next guy. I probably got a few more chances than the next guy because I could get up there and make a pretty decent speech, right? I also had the benefit of being white, which certainly gave me more opportunities, especially at that time than I would have gotten if I hadn't been. But the point I'm making is we say things often like, you know what, I'd call the cops, but all they're going to get is a slap on the wrist. And if 30 people have said that, right, that person would already be in prison, right? If for domestic violence of any sort, right? In many states, it's a 2 or a 3 strike, right? So if somebody gets 3 domestic violence calls on them, they're going to become incarcerated, and it becomes a federal. I mean, I'm sorry, it becomes a felony. In Nevada, 3 of those is going to get you sent away for a minimum of a 1 to 3 year sentence. So sometimes it's a pain in the ass, and you feel like all they're going to do is fill out papers and not do anything or anything else. What it is it's a paper trail that starts showing behavior of these kind of things, and it puts people whose behavior is like this on the radar screens of people that need to see people like this on radar screens, because if not, they become unfettered and they gain momentum and they do stupid crap. The fact that I didn't get a prison sentence the 4th time that I stole, I became very emboldened, right? Hell, if I'm just going to get arrested and released, then I'm going to steal things that are worth more money, right? I was kind of afraid of this whole getting arrested thing, but if it's not that big a deal, right? Hell, maybe I'll up this a little bit. Then maybe I'll have to steal less often, right? Maybe taking less risk. Honestly, I'm not saying it turned me into a criminal. It didn't. I turned myself into a criminal. But boy, it might have been great if I got sent to prison the 3rd time I got arrested. That would have been fantastic. Hindsight being 2020. And more than likely I would have gone into prison, done dope, done exactly what I did. Right. But maybe it would have got me faster to that time where I finally had done enough heroin, you know. Okay, well, be careful, Linda, please. Please, hon, be careful. All right. So, yeah, wrapping this up, people, because I just wanted to do a short video on this. I'm not gloating. You understand? I'm not in any way gloating. But I still get emails every single week from people who just say to me, whatever, bro. Protective custody means protective custody. Really high profile people, right? They're not going to let them get attacked. This is Derek friggin' Chauvin. And with all due respect, this is a little bit higher profile than Danny Masterson's trial. I'm not taking anything away. Obviously, I feel very strongly about what that guy did. I really do. And I am fortunate enough to be able to say I'm friends with the Jane Does, and I'm so happy that justice was served there, right? But we're talking about something that spawned riots that tore our country in half, right? For a long period of time. I watched it from inside prison, but it was really ugly, right? It was obviously very, very ugly. And that's a high profile guy. And he was put into a very, very small prison. That means tons of cops, not a lot of inmates, right? The cop to inmate ratio, in theory, in that facility should be massive. Now, according to everybody, Right now, the BOP's having a hell of a time staffing people, right? They're really struggling to staff, and they're having staffing shortages everywhere, and that's causing all kinds of problems. I'm not saying that happened here. I'm just saying that I'm a member of a lot of private chat boards for people whose loved ones are still incarcerated. When I first got out, I went over there and answered a couple of questions, and now I go back every once in a while and do a question and answer night or whatever. But it's all I hear is that every single person in there is talking about how the staffing situations in the feds is abysmal. And I don't understand why it wouldn't be, because staffing everywhere is abysmal, right? A lot of people have found out you can make money from home, and other people have found out they don't want to make money. Pup Groomer 20 says Eli State Prison is so understaffed right now. Ely State Prison is so understaffed right now. It's crazy. No one wants to work there. Ely is a supermax facility in Nevada. I know many people that did time there. That is a tough facility to do time at. You do time there, when you leave your cell, you leave handcuffed, you go down all stairs backwards. It's like being in the special management unit. At least when I was in that system, it is a tough prison. And I would imagine not one that a lot of guards would want to work at. Those really high custody level yards take away every single bit of freedom from a group of alpha males who have never followed the law in their life. Right? Some of those people, I say this all the time. If you take everybody in prison, you can divide them into groups very, very easily. And the vast majority of them did things to either get drugs or to get money to buy drugs. The vast majority of people are in prison because of the fact that, quite simply, it's a drug thing. A lot of people are in prison because they snapped and they did something violent. They caught a loved one in the act with somebody else and freaked out, and or got into a fist fight and killed a person. Those things happen, and people end up in prison for that. People end up in prison for DWIs, all kinds of things. But you can put them into categories. The smallest category is that group of people that you look at and go, this person needs to be in prison, right? This person should never walk around other people ever again. Like they shouldn't even be around people in prison, right? There are people that are so mother loving evil that you look at them and in about 6 seconds you will go, this person is unlike anyone else I've ever met. Plain and simple, right? I have looked at people, I promise you, that are evil to a level where you look at them and you go, there's not anybody home. In the sense of the word that we all consider one another, there's nobody home. You look at them and the eyes look like a shark. They look more like a predator than a human. You know what? Thank you, son. Big congratulations to the crew of the Lifeboat for 14,000 subscribers, which is absolutely unbelievable. You know what? Tuesday, boy, oh boy. Tuesday, I'd love to. I have somebody right now that is working on taking the entire catalog of stuff that we've done at the Lifeboat and organizing it, because I'm not good at any of that kind of stuff. But I've done so many shows on this specifically Tuesday, because that's the question, isn't it? That's the question. How much would the crime rates drop if healthcare was universally available and included mental health care? I got another one. How about if we didn't incarcerate people for drugs? How about if straight across the board, we don't put people in prison for drugs, right? If we didn't put people in prison for drugs, it would be a very empty place. It would be a very, very empty place. And that's all there is to it. The attitude of the people on the street is this: lock them up and throw away the key. And you want to hear something messed up? I've been to prison. right? My best friend is in prison. And you know what? He's supposed to be in prison for what he did. Sadly, if he had been convicted in the state, he'd already be home. That's a hard thing to wrap your brain around if it's a loved one, right? I love Q. If he had been convicted in the state, he'd already be home. He'd be hosting the show or co-hosting it at least, right? I hope if you're saying the video quality is actually good, I'm so happy about that. We've been working on it, people. We really have. If you're being sarcastic, I apologize because we really are working on it. It's been a never-ending struggle with the damn video quality, and I love it here. I love everything about where I've moved. I really do. The rate that we're growing at right now is ridiculous. It really is. The rate that we're growing at right now is clear again. Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you for figuring it out. I'm happy that the quality is better. It feels fantastic. The growth that we're experiencing. People don't get this. I mean, Justin Bieber gets this. Really famous people get this, but we've been having 500 and 600 people days, and that's a beautiful thing. I don't expect that to happen forever. I do expect some really, really cool things to come. We've got some really exciting stuff that's going to be happening in the next 3 to 4 months that are just going to be mind-bending. And I did an interview with somebody that is going to take everything that I've done since starting this, and it will be bigger than all of it. I assure you, it will be bigger than all of it together, and it will be a one-shot thing. And I'm really looking forward to this. Jesper Iverson says, I've never been an addict, never been religious, never been in prison, but yet I really enjoy your channel. Well-deserved growth. Thank you, Jesper Iverson. You want to hear something? I mean, every once in a while, you got to say to yourself, what are the odds, right? So the other day, somebody was on the channel, and I said, I grew up with somebody, and I had a friend with that name, and it was a fairly common name, but to grow up where I did, I grew up and I had a very close friend named Jesper Iverson. We had an exchange student, actually, named Jesper, who was a hoot. He was in high school with me my senior year, and we really had a great time with him. Narcoleptic Chihuahua, good to see you, man. I hope you had a happy Thanksgiving as well. I hope everybody did. I'm thankful to be in hell. I really am for all the growth, for all of you. Just like Jesper says, the largest growing section of you, based on emails alone, never had a drug problem, and that's awesome, right? It is. It's awesome. So it means that you come here and you treat people with the respect and the dignity that they deserve, and it says a lot about who you are. Do I consider weed a drug? This one's going to blow you away. Are you ready? I don't consider anything a drug, right? Or, depending on how you look at it, I consider everything a drug. If you cannot control smoking cannabis, then I consider it a drug. If cannabis is not messing up your life, if it is not something that is causing an addictive behavioral pattern in your life, then who cares, right? But I'd say the same thing about blow, right? I talk about my friend all the time, right? We bring him up constantly. I have a friend that does cocaine on New Year's. Every single freaking New Year's. And I said to him, are you ever going to outgrow this? And he said, I don't imagine. He said, I don't do it during the year. And I said, you never, ever do it again. You do it one day a year. He's like, no, every once in a while I'll get, a hair across the idea, and I'll decide to run out and maybe do it again. And he said, there was 1 year where I think I did 3 or 4 days where I just went on a runner. But he described stuff that, like a 3 or 4 day runner, Like, I don't know what a 3 or 4 day runner is. Right? A 3 or 4 day runner was sobriety. You know, yeah, I did like 3 or 4 days sober. It was ridiculous. You know, we ran out of stuff. I had to drive. I was hitchhiking. Right there was locusts, floods. Yeah, I mean, I never did that. For every single day. I did drugs every single day. You know, those were runners. But do I think weed is a drug? There are so many people I know on the lifeboat who use cannabis and then use it, as far as I'm concerned, without an issue in their life. So if that's you, fantastic. However, if cannabis seems to be having causing a problem in your life, then jam on the brakes. You know what I mean? Jam on the brakes. And you say, well, I don't even know what it means. I don't know if I have the problem. Okay, look, you know what addiction is? Bad stuff happens to you. And you go, well, I'm going to keep doing it. I get a DWI, but I'm just going to keep drinking, right? And I'm going to keep driving, but I'm going to be safer. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, but I'm not going to stop anything I'm doing, okay? That is a big ass sign that you're an addict, right? I get arrested for stealing things, and I don't go, holy hell, I just went to jail. I mean, yeah, I got out, but I went to jail. I got arrested. My first thought when I got out was, oh my God, right? I can go get dope. I thought I was going to be stuck in there and have to be sober. I can go get dope. I started calling all my friends. You got to help me, bro. I just got out of jail. And you know what junkies do? You call someone who a heroin addict, say, I just got out of jail. They'll go, yeah, come over here. Because they know it's going to be them, right? 2 weeks down the road, 3 weeks down the road, it's going to be them. It's that kind of lifestyle. Is weed a drug? Not for some people. No, for some people, it's fantastic, right? For some people, it is just fantastic. I know people that swear up and down by the gummies. And I'm telling you right now, I am researching the gummies. I intend to try them. And I'm not talking about the ones without the THC. I'm talking about the ones with the THC. But I'm researching this, and it's something that I would like to take at 9 o'clock at night as I lay down, because sleep for me is a really serious issue. But apparently there is a cannabis sleep product that is just absolutely the business, right? Absolutely the business. But yeah, I don't know yet. I'm researching this ad nauseum because I do need a non-narcotic sleep treatment in my life. And no matter what anybody says, I promise you, weed's not a narcotic. Yes, I did see this video. LNG. You know what? I wanted to talk about this. 40 times, and I keep forgetting. Did anyone see the video of that teacher arrested for drinking at school? She went to her court appearance drunk, so it doesn't always compute that they are in addiction. Here's the deal. She knows she's in addiction. When you're in active addiction, you can't not go to court drunk. You understand? When you're at that level, the reason that woman was drunk at school was because that woman couldn't be not drunk at school. That woman needs to have a base level of alcohol in her system, or she's going to go like this, go into the delirium tremens, which can kill you, by the way, and do all day. Every day, we lose people in the United States to death from acute alcohol withdrawal. Right? We've all had a hangover, right? Jean Zeus, absolutely a true thing. Look this up to be sure. This is real. There have been people on the lifeboat who have had this. Absolutely, this is a reality. This is something that is real. This is something that you can research, right? And please do. Now, if you look at what the odds are, that it affects a very, very small number of people. However, as I've said in the past, we're playing with things that we're not really hip to. No one, no one knew when we were legalizing this substance. This substance was a lot different than it is now, and it's interesting because they're making weed stronger and stronger and stronger, and they're genetically engineering it, and they're bringing out different it's there's more now to it than just THC, right? There's and I'll be honest, people, I don't study this the way I used to, just because to me it's not a part of my life. Like when people talk about the terpenes and all of these things that came along. Look, man, when I was smoking weed, right? There was brick pot, and there was the stuff that people grew in there inside in grow operations. And if you were a pot snob, you only grew you only smoked the indoor stuff. And I smoked it and grew it for a really long period of time. These people going to trial drug really is. I mean, if you've got nothing but time on your hands, right? Go to night court if they happen to have one in your hometown, right? Your home city. Go to night court. Because it's open to the public, right? Just go sit in the back and watch night court. Watch the number of people that will come in one freaking day and nod out in front of the judge, right? They will sit in the front of the courtroom and go like this. Not out in court. I mean, it is absolutely the reality of how it's done. And they're not, you think to yourself, they're just making such bad decisions. They're not making decisions. Nobody in their right mind who gets drunk at school goes to court drunk. They're not in their right mind. Nobody that gets in trouble for heroin goes to see the judge and nods out, right? They're not in their right mind. You can't not be on those drugs, right? It's not the kind of addiction that, if you've never lived it, it's not the kind of addiction that, later on today I'll get that taken care of. I'm going to go to see the judge, and then I'll drink afterwards. If the judge sees me not drinking, I'll get committed. Right? The judge sees me with a couple of drinks, maybe I'm going to get in trouble. But if the judge sees me in the delirium tremens, right? If the judge sees me in the full detox, I mean, there's no way. Oh, you saw the infomercial. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. There were actually more than one. There were several of those, but I think only one tends to make the rounds. Conky Dong agreed on cannabis exacerbating depression and anxiety, and for a lot of people, it absolutely does. Absolutely, for a lot of people, it does. KD says it's been 1 year as of this month since I quit cannabis cold turkey, and I am far less anxious and depressed now. I had smoked for 15 plus years, multiple times every day without taking any breaks. Fantastic. Congratulations, by the way. A year, man. Good stuff, right? For real. And I think for a lot of people, that's a reality. For a lot of people, when they remove that from their life, they are considerably happier people. I really believe that. I also believe that we say that those who are nodding out are buffering. Well, I'll be damned. I've never heard that. Buffering, huh? I kind of like that. It sounds nicer than nodding out. I think Jim Carroll. I had never heard the nod. The first time I came across that was in writings from Jim Carroll, the guy that wrote the Basketball Diaries. He wrote a poem called "On the Nod," and that was the first time I had ever seen that. Yeah, congratulations on your year. That's awesome. It really is. And it's one of the reasons that I try to avoid people glorifying weed here, because there's a lot of people here who are also trying to fight. I don't really like the glorification of drugs that are addicting. I do like open discussion as long as people are respectful about the stuff. I've got friends on here who quit drinking and have been sober off of booze for a really long time, and cannabis has become a very large part of that process for them, and it seems to work beautifully for these individuals, and I am happy as hell for them. But I have never been the dude who's gonna say you have a drug problem. Right? That's not my that's above my pay grade. Your job is to say I have a drug problem or I don't have a drug problem. Right? Just like my job is to say that I have a drug problem or I don't have a drug problem. That is all of our jobs. It is what we do. We go and figure out if this is something that we do too often, or if this is something that that is, it really is something, people, that it can become a part of. I don't know. It's depressing in all honesty, the debate back and forth, because I am very happy if you traded one drug for another, and the drug that you traded was trading heroin for weed. It's a hell of a trade, right? Congratulations. And then maybe down the road you get rid of the weed. I don't know. Maybe you keep it forever. It's still a hell of a trade, right? I think that's a good trade. I don't have a problem with that. And you shouldn't either. Society will, but you know what? Society doesn't have to live your life. And you shouldn't have to deal with societies. Don't let it bother you, for real. I would recommend thicker skin for all parties involved. Sobriety is one of those things that if you don't develop thick skin, you're going to end up finding yourself bummed out often. And it's not, I don't know. Personally, I don't think it's worth the time and the effort. Is it me? But it's up to you if you think it's a drug, right? They're all drugs. Now, if you think it's a dangerous drug, that's going to be completely up to you, right? It really is. When I got clean in the beginning, I started shoplifting. A lot of people go through other habits because you miss adrenaline, you miss, right? That what ends up happening is, so shoplifting becomes the symptom, right? The symptom was drugs. All right. Now the symptom becomes shoplifting. And it happens to a lot of people. We've seen famous people, right? You go, how in the name of God does an actress who's worth $15 million walk into a damn store and steal a $700 handbag? Right? Why? Because the actress doesn't feel comfortable in her own skin. There's an adrenaline rush and a dopamine hit and a lot of other weird things going on with brain chemistry that wahoo and that person walking out the door as that famous individual is going to do for that person. It's going to scratch an itch that that person couldn't explain to anybody other than someone just like them. Right? He was the heroin addict. Catherine says, singer James Taylor said on a live from home in 2020, if you find any substance you love so much you never want to live without it, run from it the first time. He was a heroin addict. He was the heroin addict. Literally, there was a time apparently at a party where Keith Richards took him aside from everybody at the party and said, hey, James, I think you need to pump the brakes a little bit on the heroin. If Keith Richards tells you that you need to slow down on your heroin consumption, you might just have a drug problem, right? I mean, for real, you might just have a vicious drug problem. And as the story goes, he basically was forced to choose between his wife and heroin, and he chose heroin, right? And they, years later haven't been able to get along very well, which is sad. Fortunately, he did beat that substance because it's a rugged substance to beat. Most people don't. Like most people that beat heroin, he credits that as the greatest success of his life. He doesn't think that, it's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, or it's the Life Achievement Award, or what did he get? The Met gave him the Lifetime Award as well. Whoa, 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 whoa. Here's the deal on the, sorry people, but I was reading backwards. Here's the deal on the Kratom. Same thing, different day. Here's my problem with the Kratom, even versus, say, cannabis or whatever. Once they start to regulate weed in any of these states, right? There are some testing that has to be done. There's some stringence to, there is now some quality control. And the thing that's frightening about Kratom is that funky things have been found in bottles of it. Because of how it is sold, it flies under the radar and can be sold as just about whatever the hell they want to sell it as. You follow what I'm saying? Like anytime that those things are dietary supplements or this or that or whatever. Yeah, it's definitely the lesser Kratom, whatever makes you happy, no matter how I pronounce it. And there's 1,350 of these shows. So I promise you, I have said Kratom every way you can say it. I'm going with the Joe Rogan podcast on this, where Kratom is how they said that the correct pronunciation is. All I know about it is this. I've never, full disclosure, I've never gotten high on it. I've never taken the drug, right? I can't tell you anything about it from that point of view, right? I can't. I can tell you that I've worked with people who have told me they got up to dropping $120 a day on it, right? Which I find pretty unbelievable. And the one thing that I can tell you from a pharmacological kind of a deal is that it works on the MU receptor, right? Me, Tommy Scoville, things can't work on my MU receptors, right? That's not an option for me because that's the same receptor that heroin tickles. It's the same receptor that fentanyl or, any of the drugs that are just my freaking wheelhouse. Drugs that once I start doing, you're never going to see me again because they're going to click on handcuffs and I don't get another one. There's not another one in me. If I go back, I'm never getting out. Yeah, you know what, man? We do need to bust out the old troll kit. Look, there are gonna be more trolls. I stood up for a friend. That brings trolls out of the woodwork. We brought on a whole bunch of new people. The truth of the matter is, folks, we're still dealing with trolls that it's absolutely addictive. Anything that touches the MU receptor is addictive. When you get the MU receptor being turned on all the time and then you say, I'm not turning you on today, it gets pissed and it doesn't matter what throws that switch. That is a stone cold fact. I don't talk about the T-word people on here because they're a waste of time. But you know what? Most of it is still from the original people that started it 2 years ago. God bless them because they watch every single show. They do. And I don't talk about them. I don't highlight their stuff. But one of them, way back in the very beginning of picking this fight, said, I'm going to sink the lifeboat. It's my goal in life. That's what they said. And they said, and they stalled the lifeboat for about 45 days. I mean, we couldn't get off 1,248 or 1,268 or something like that. We go up 50, we come back 10. We just couldn't seem to bust past 1,300. And it was just damn depressing. Wait, the crew just kept coming back every day. And they're still here. I'm looking at them. Faces of the Moon was there. V was there, right? The people that just have been the lifeboat, no less at all than me or anyone else that sat in this chair, Charlie and Seventh, and all of the originals that just were here when all of that crap was going on. And the only reason I mention it is they did a video titled "The Lifeboat's Never Going to Hit 1,300." I don't do the thing very often. I really don't. But boy, we just hit 14K. And since you boys never miss a video, how are you guys doing? Huh? 14,000 here on the Lifeboat. Boy, oh boy, people. If you didn't know better, you'd think we were a damn YouTube channel. Huh? Consistently delivering a place where we don't judge people. Right? Tiramisu is my new drug of choice, along with crab rangoons. Wow. Yeah, so Seven Sun says we still have subs from when we were sub 1,000 subscribers. We still do. They have never gone away. But we thank you, Zeus. I appreciate it. But we do promise. Yeah, 2 years. Cemetery's been here over 2 years. Probably, if you do the math, it's yeah, we're into the third season here. On the Lifeboat officially. We're now in the third season here, but second season was great. We're looking forward to one hell of a third season. And truthfully and honestly, I don't do the gloat thing, but that one was just fun because it is you don't know when growth is ever going to stop. You don't know when people are ever going to stop showing up or anything else. But I'm having a hell of a good time hanging out with all of you. I really am. And as I've said, we promised a couple of things when we fired this thing up. And one was we're not going to judge people from their past, right? We're going to treat everybody here with respect. I don't care who you worship. I don't care what you sleep with, right? As long as it's consensual, you do what you do. We don't judge people that way here. Right? And by the way, you can go do whatever the hell you want somewhere else. For real. I don't tell people how to live their life, how to judge, how to not judge. I just say, don't do it here, right? This is our porch. And on our porch, we're all going to treat one another with respect, right? I said that. I would be willing to do that. And now, the second promise. Cat in the basket. We've been just consistently delivering more cat in the basket than anybody on the entire big red button, right? Than anybody since we started. Or since she got here. This is a cat in a basket. And one hell of a cat in a basket. Squirrel's a star. All right, people. That's true. You know what? Seven's just made a really good point. A lot of you guys guys and gals have been around since Tommy's Picks. And Tommy's Picks was around before there was. Before I had a YouTube channel, I was on a different YouTube channel. Tommy's Picks. Melissa Webster says, I'm still on Suboxone and I'm weaning off. It is a seriously tough wean. You know what? It seriously saved my life. And methadone was a leash. It helped me out at first, but then I was a number to the clinic. I'm glad that you made the switch personally. I don't want to badmouth any substance that's working for anyone. However, when I help people get into medical assisted treatment, I push Suboxone versus methadone because I've seen it be more successful with the people that I have met. That's all. That is the only reason. Well, would you please go and eat something, Jess? Now? It's time to eat. All right, everybody. Listen, tonight, I don't know if you'll get the announcement. When I do 3 shows in a day, I very often don't get more than 2 announcements. So I'm going to be back at the same time I am every single night. Tonight is what we used to affectionately call Saturday Night Boat. We don't call it Saturday Night Boat anymore. We call it not Friday Night Boat. But this is the night we let our hair down and screw around. We've been doing top 100 lists, but to be really honest, they seem to get Johnny Scoville all kind of crazy in the head. So maybe we'll do another one tonight. It's kind of fun watching him get nuts. Did you see the paw pose? Look at this. The paw hanging out the basket for your effect. Huh? That cat's the most. All right, people. I love you all. We'll see you on the next one. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville. Thank you guys for watching. And for all of you who stick around until the end, you must be fans of Aaron's channel. Hey, Disney Mom. Good to see you. Hope we catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.